Today is a very special Friday morning. Our buddy Maya is joining us. Maya, how are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing awesome. And why are you doing good today? Tell me why today's special.
Because Austin Winsberg is calling in.
Austin Winsberg's calling in. That's awesome. Austin, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Excited to be here.
Maya, take it away, my friend.
So first of all, I just want to tell you that I love Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. And I've actually interviewed 4 of the actors from the show. Skylar Astin, India de Beaufort. I always have to be careful how I say that name because it's spelled differently than.
No, you did well. You did well.
Thank you. Andrew Leeds and John Clarence Stewart. And so I'm a little overwhelmed that now I'm talking to the creator of this amazing show.
I'm not that scary, so don't worry.
So my first question for you is, where do you get your inspiration to write and create?
I've been writing since I was young, since I was about 16 years old. I started off as a kid actor in Los Angeles, and I really thought that I wanted to be in TV and movies, and I did a bunch of commercials and a few TV shows when I was a kid. And then I went to this theater camp in New York in the Catskills called Stage Door Manor, which is a very famous theater camp that people like Natalie Portman and Zach Braff and Mandy Moore all went to. And at that camp, I got to see that there's all different kinds of ways that you could be involved in entertainment and theater and the media. And I started directing some plays when I was there, and I started doing a little bit of writing there too. And then I met a friend at that camp who was a child playwright, and he was writing these plays and winning all these young playwrights contests all around America. So if there's anybody who's listening who likes to write plays, there's a whole network of these playwriting festivals that you could submit your material to. And I read his stuff and I was like, hey, I could do that too. And I got a little jealous. And then I started writing plays, and I won this LA Young Playwrights Festival 5 times before I was 19 years old. And I just started seeing that I could use my creativity in ways beyond just acting. And in writing, I felt like I could show more of my personality and my point of view. And I felt like I had something to say more than just saying somebody else's lines on stage. And I could still feel excited being part of the process in another way. And that really started the whole writing side of my career. And when you're a writer, or at least I find when when I don't write for a period of time, I get angsty or sad or depressed, and I just feel this need to put it on paper what I'm feeling. And so writing has just been a big part of me for a long time, and my inspiration comes from a lot of inspiration comes from things that happen to me in real life. A lot of inspiration comes from dreams that I have, or just ideas I'll have where I'll try to combine things from different genres, and ideas can kind of come from anywhere if you're sort of open to it.
Oh, cool. So I'm so excited for season 2 of Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. Can you tell us anything about what happens in season 2?
I can try. I don't want to spoil too much if people haven't seen the end of season 1, because a big thing happens at the end of season 1. But I can tell you that, at the end of season 1, we kind of end with this sort of place in the love triangle of the story where we don't know exactly what's going to happen next. And the love triangle continues to play out in her relationship with Simon and Max. On top of that, there's a bunch of new changes that happen at work, because we learn at the end of the season that Danny Michael Davis, who is the big boss, is going to jail. So that's going to create a lot of new changes at work at Spark Point. Because there was the big change in the family, everybody's adjusting to all these new shifts that have happened in the family, including the birth of David and Emily's baby. And that's going to create new challenges and complications and stuff. And then on top of that, just the way that Zoe approaches the world and the way that Zoe tries to recover from all of that, everything that's happened, that's a big part of the season.
All right, Maya, what you got next?
Okay, so you created the story and produced the upcoming Disney Plus movie, Secret Society of Second-Born Royals,
Yes.
which stars Skylar Astin. And I'm so excited to see it. And the premise is so cool. How did you get the idea for this movie?
It's a good question. I had sold a TV show a few years ago to CBS, and this was before Meghan Markle became princess. But I had this idea, what if an American girl goes to England and marries a prince? And then when she becomes the princess, she learns that the princesses are actually the real people who are protecting the world. That there is a whole secret society of princesses around the world whose job it is to protect the world from bad things. And that was the initial premise of the idea. When CBS decided not to make that show, it ended up getting over to the Disney Channel. And Disney has two big things that they always try to do a lot, which is superheroes and princesses. And so they were like, oh, wow, this really seems to fit in with what we like to do in our world. Is there a way we could make a movie about combining those two ideas, combining the ideas of royalty and superhero? Because Disney has all the Marvel movies and they do a lot of princess stuff in all the Disney animated movies. And so I came up with this idea, well, what if the people who are the second-born royals, like Prince Harry, who basically have no real power because they're not going to become king, and so sometimes they're considered not the laughing stock, but certainly not the ones who are going to be anything important. What if those are the ones who are actually important? And also, sometimes feeling like the little brother or the little sister, sometimes feeling like you don't get all the attention in the family. What if you're the second born in a family and you discover that the second borns are actually the really important ones? They're the ones who really have to save the day. And so this is a world a little bit kind of like the X-Men movies, where these royalty from all around the world, who are all second borns, discover that they actually each have their own unique individual powers, and they have to come together to save the world. So it just came from combining those ideas of royalty and superheroes and creating a fun movie for them. And Peyton Lee, who was the lead in Andy Mack, if anybody ever watched that show, she's the lead in the movie. And it's a really fun Disney Plus action movie.
Oh, cool. I loved Andy Mack, and I'm so excited to see this movie.
It's a fun movie. Different than Zoes, though. Zoes is like a big, fun musical TV show with comedy and emotion, and the Secret Society is a little bit more like a kind of a kid's version of a Marvel movie.
Oh, cool. Yeah, my sister is obsessed with the Marvel movies. So,
who's her favorite superhero?
I don't know. She loves all of them. She loves Captain Marvel. And we actually, not really argue sometimes, but I love Captain Marvel, but my favorite is Shazam. And so we always argue about the Marvel and DC universe.
I did a musical on Broadway a few years ago starring Zach Levi, who was Shazam.
Yeah, I actually have a question.
I don't mean to get ahead of you then. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay. But that's so cool. Yeah. So one of the many things I love about Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist is the music. How do you decide what songs to incorporate into the show?
Good question. Well, sometimes, so we start off when we're coming up with the season of the show, we have what's called kind of like our big board, where we talk about all of the character arcs and everything that's going to happen to the character over the course of the season. And we will map it out episode by episode. So this kind of happens to Simon in episode 3. This is something that could happen to Simon in episode 5. And when we start talking about the big board stuff, sometimes I'll be like, what would be a great idea for a great song for Simon in episode 5? Should I stay or should I go? When we know that he's trying to decide whether he should leave Zoe's apartment or not. And so we'll just put that on the board as a song from the very beginning. That's a song we know we want to have in the show at that moment in time. And then, but most of the time what happens is when we're kind of crafting individual stories, we'll get to a moment where we're like, oh, and we do this every day in the writer's room. We'll be like, or the writer's Zoom room now, where we'll be like, oh, you know what would be really great? Like, we need a song here about jealousy. Or we need a song here where someone is talking about how they really would rather be home with their baby than at work right now. And then it's like, what is a song that can kind of fit the needs that we need emotionally and lyrically from what's happening in that moment? And then we just sit there and we listen to songs. And for me in the show, kind of based on musical theater rules, the songs either need to advance the plot, so they need to tell us something new that's going to advance the plot of the story, or reveal something about a character that we didn't know before, or they need to be funny. And so those are kind of our three criteria. And then we kind of go through songs and we say, does this fit the moment? Does it answer one of those three things that they need to answer? And what's kind of a conceit or a dance or an idea we can do during the number there? And that's where we come up with the songs.
Oh, cool. So how did you come up with the idea that Zoe gets her powers from an MRI?
That was interesting because the idea, I knew that, so my father, I don't know if people know this about the show, but my father passed away from a very, very rare progressive neurological disease. And that the whole creation of the show, the whole idea kind of stemmed from wanting to do something about that time in my life where I was becoming a dad at the same time. And it was all connected to things going on in the brain. And I had an MRI once because I had some bad headaches a few years ago. And I also almost lost all the vision in one of my eyes. I had something called optic neuritis, which is kind of, it affects your optic nerve. And I had to have several MRIs during that time. And one of the MRIs went for like 2.5 hours. And it was really long. And I had to do it with contrast and all these different angles. And the guy said to me before I went in there, he goes, do you want me to put on any music for you while you're in there? It's really loud in those MRIs with all the banging and everything. He goes, but you could wear headphones and I have everything, Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify, whatever you want. And so I was in there listening to music this whole time where I was really, those MRI machines are very claustrophobic and contained. And I just thought I needed a way for Zoe to get the powers in the first episode. And it's always like, does the person get hit on the head? What's like the device that makes it happen? And for me, I just thought, oh, what if she's getting an MRI and something, because there's nowhere you can go when you're trapped in an MRI machine. And I knew it needed to be about music. So I was reminded back to that moment. And because the father was going through a neurological thing at the time, I thought it was a way to connect the two. And it just became, it became like a cool way, like in a lot of those movies, how the superhero movies, how people get their powers. That was kind of my impulse, was like, what if there's a crazy thing that goes wrong during an MRI?
Oh, cool. Yeah. I've had so many MRIs, so I'm still waiting for my powers.
You never know. They could happen.
Yeah.
But when you're trapped in those MRI machines, it's especially for a long period of time, it's like all you want to do is just either go to sleep or do something because there's nothing you can do in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually they let me pick a movie, and I'm always disappointed when they don't have Shazam. I'm like, you need Shazam.
You're lucky. I didn't know that you could watch movies in there. I was so I was all up in my head, so there was no way to see anything.
Oh, yeah. They always they have a mirror on the head thing.
They did not give me that option.
Oh.
But it was good because I thought of the TV show because of it. So it was a good thing for me, I guess.
Oh, cool. So you wrote the book for the musical First Date, starring Zachary Levi and Krista Rodriguez. And I've actually interviewed both of them. And so I never got to see it, but I'm obsessed with the soundtrack. So what gave you the idea for this musical?
A lot of bad dates when I was single was really the start of that idea. That came from a place where I had been working in TV for a long time and was getting frustrated working in TV. And I had two of my best friends were musical theater writers. And when they say you write the book, that doesn't mean a book like a book that you read. It means like you write the script. So they write the songs and I write like all the dialogue between the songs. And we just were sitting down one day and we're like, we should write a musical just for fun. We just thought it would be something that we would make ourselves and do in Los Angeles in a small theater. And we were like, what should we write about? And we just liked this idea of what if you do an entire musical that happens with a couple on a first date? And as they're trying to get to know each other in real time, all of their past baggage and skeletons in the closet kind of come to life on stage around them. So their ex-boyfriends and girlfriends, their therapists, their mothers, their best friends, everybody giving advice on the date and telling them what they're doing right or wrong or what's going on in their head at the time. It's kind of a precursor to Zoe a little bit because it's kind of like what goes on in our heads and what are we really thinking about? Even though we might be saying one thing to somebody, what's really going on in our heads at the same time. And we just thought it would be something that we could easily produce because it all takes place basically in one location with only 7 actors. And we did, it was really just something we were going to do for fun. And we thought it was an opportunity to use some of our bad dating stories and horror stories that had happened to us in the past. And we did one reading of it in New York in 2010. And we were able to get Broadway producers and theaters and people interested in it just off of that. So it had a very quick ascent from us writing it. And then we did a production of it in Seattle that in 2012. And then it went to Broadway in 2013.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, all of like the musical theater soundtracks that I'm obsessed with, I'm so upset because I never got to actually see them. I'm like, I don't care that I never got to see these. These are my favorite musicals.
Like what? Like what? What's your favorite musicals?
Well, First Date, Spring Awakening, Rent, and yeah, then Hamilton, Dear Evan Hansen, Waitress, like all of those.
Nice. There are some musicals now. There's a site, I don't know what it's called, but there's a site that did film a lot of Broadway musicals that you can go to and watch them. I don't know if it has some of the most recent ones, but I know that there's a lot on this one. I could find it for you. There's like a Broadway type site that you can click onto and see a lot of shot versions of staged musicals.
Oh, cool. So have you discovered any new hobbies or talents during quarantine?
I've discovered that it's very hard to entertain a 6 and a 9-year-old all day, every day. I discovered that hobby. I've been really busy during quarantine because I'm doing season 2 of Zoes. There was a lot of stuff to do on Second Born Royals. I was still working on that during the break. And I have another TV show that I'm working on for Apple and a few other projects. So I've been very busy. So I haven't had that much free time. I did some drawing. My family didn't really get to go away very much. So it's been a lot of time at home sitting, staring at a computer or playing board games. Or we got really into Dude Perfect for a while, me and my kids. I don't know if you know what that is, but that's 5 guys who do trick shots in Texas. So we really got into trying to do trick shots in our house with ping pong balls and basketballs and stuff like that. We went through that phase for a while. Lying on not a lot. I wish I had more exciting hobbies that I found.
Cool. Yeah. Well, quarantine has given me a chance to become obsessed with all these Broadway soundtracks. So that's like what I like about quarantine.
Did you see Hamilton on Disney Plus?
Yeah. I had no idea that Jonathan Groff was in it, so I was so excited when he came on.
He's so good, huh?
Yeah.
You can really see when he spits too, when he sings. You just see the saliva like on his mouth and chin. He really gets into it.
Yeah. So if you could have any song playing to announce your entrance into a room, what song would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. That's a tricky one. I should have that answer at the ready. I really like, I don't know if it's my song, but I really like the song Africa by Toto. I don't know if you know that song or not. I don't know if that would be my entrance song. I feel like my entrance song should be like "Don't Call It a Comeback" or something that's like stronger, or like an Eminem song or something. But I don't know. I don't have a great one at the top of my head. What's your song?
I don't know. I feel like "Rain" by Ben Platt, or like any Asher Angel song. Because those are the two singers I'm like obsessed with right now. So
you had a better answer than me, right? I gotta start thinking of these in advance.
So my last question for you is, who do you consider to be a real life superhero and why?
Oh, wow. I think you're my new favorite superhero. I mean, what you're doing is amazing, and all these people that you've interviewed and everything, it's awesome. It's really awesome. I mean, just thinking, I think Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez, I think she's doing amazing work in Congress right now. I think Ruth Bader Ginsburg, I think people involved in the Black Lives Matter movement right now. There's a lot of amazing activism that's going on right now in our country, and a lot of people who are speaking up against injustice. So I think at this, Dr. Fauci right now, I mean, anybody who is sort of on the front lines of believing in science and standing up for social issues and civil issues and human rights, those are the people that I would consider real life superheroes right now.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. And I think I'm not 100% sure to say her name, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand. I think she is amazing. I just love her. So
yeah, and in New Zealand, it's like they have no COVID right now, right? I mean, yes, 100% yes, on your side.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for calling in. I had so much fun talking to you.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Truly, I think what you guys are doing is amazing and awesome. So I'm really happy that you thought of me for this. So thank you so much.
Austin Winsberg, thank you so much, my friend.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Hey, have a good one.
You too.
You too.